listening to Second Wind with Joyce Buford, where women who are ready to expand their life adventure discover the tools to stop playing small and tap into the courage required to enjoy their second wind. Welcome.
Welcome. You are listening to Second Wind Podcast. And I am here today because I wanted to encourage you to play full out with your life. Get to know you. I want to inspire you to dream bigger than you are today. And I want to inform you on how to get there. Now, I do that through having the most awesome guests on Second Wind, where they share their stories about inspiration, about courage, about challenges, and their knowledge of how they got there. So they're living their second wind. So my guest today is Gail Hamilton. Now, Gail is a National Speaker Association certified speaker, and she is internationally known by virtual, and she does live speaking, of course. She has spoken in TED Talks in Breckenridge, Colorado. I am so envious of that, Gail, because I want to have the courage to get on TED Talk.
All things are possible.
I know.
All things.
She is an author of Soaring into Greatness, a blind woman's vision to live her dreams and fly. Yes, she is a trainer, an opera singer, and totally blind. She faced the fears, negativities, and self-blinding beliefs that could have stopped her from experiencing life to the fullest. This is the power of her message. Most of us face those same fears, negative thoughts, and self-blinding. I love the way you use this word, Gail. It is so spot on. Self-blinding beliefs. Using them as excuses for us to stop. Don't play, don't live, don't enjoy life. But you had this challenge, even had the physical challenge, and Gail has faced this successfully. Now, she has a BA degree from William Woods University, Master's of Music degree from Pittsburgh State University. She took doctoral studies at the University of Colorado and received a master's degree in psychology and counseling from Naropa. Am I saying that? Naropa. Sounds like an Indian name, possibly.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, since it's in Naropa Institute in Boulder, Colorado. That's why I say that. Yep. So welcome. I am so thrilled that you are here with us today.
I'm so glad to be here, and I think we're going to have fun.
I think we are too. You know, I love your words, how you used it in your book. It just, as I was doing your interview, I always rewrite the interviews and play with them a little bit. And I went, oh, that is so clever of her to use your words the way you did. So anyway, the first thing I think most people want to know when we are talking with a blind person is how were you blind from birth? Did you become blind after life? Do you mind sharing that story with us?
Oh, no. It's all good. I was born in 1953. I'm a twin.
Oh.
And yeah. And no, he was not affected. Everybody says that. No, he's good. And so we were 2.5 months premature.
Wow.
Yeah. So we weighed 2 pounds and our waist was, what if you put your finger together in a circle, they were that big. And yeah, so my dad used to put us together. I've heard the story, in a shoebox. It's like, so I say I'm the right shoe, you know.
Yeah, right.
My brother can be the left shoe. I'm the right. And so anyway, they put us in incubators, and it was the 100% pure oxygen for 6 weeks that damaged my eyes. Didn't hurt his,
Oh,
but since I was 2 pounds, I think I was more susceptible than he was. So I had partial sight
yeah.
until I was 11, and then I got cataracts. So as a kid, I could read headline newsprint.
Hmm.
I could draw. I loved to draw. I could ride a bike. I could watch TV really, really close. So
Right.
I could do some things,
Yes.
and yeah. So
Yeah. So at 11, that must have been just crushing to lose your eyesight.
yeah, and especially since my parents didn't talk about it. So one day I'm riding bikes and I'm chasing butterflies and
Uh-huh.
being a kid. And then
Uh-huh.
the next day, not the next day, it took 3 months or 4 months for the cataracts to come over my eyes. And
Yeah.
over that summer, it was like, then I started running into walls and
Uh,
falling into trash cans. And it's
uh,
like, what is going on? And my
uh-huh.
parents didn't talk about it. And so, because you don't want to talk about the elephant in the living room, for Pete's
Right.
sakes, that would be horrible. And so, especially to your own child,
Right.
and so, um, the the way, well, two things happened. One was I figured out, like, and in my head,
Uh-huh.
the what happened was my, like, the inner vision, our imagination
Right.
started taking over at the same time as my outer
Right.
vision started going away. And so
Yes.
I couldn't figure out, really sounds weird to people. I couldn't figure out if I
Mhm.
could see or not. So, like, do I don't
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know, because my inner visions, because in my head, I still say that, to today, I go, still
Uh-huh.
blind. Because in my head, I see, except,
Uh,
I run into the wall and I go, ah, still blind, because
oh.
it just always shocks me still, you know, all these years later. It's like, Gail, you ought to be used to it by now. You got talking computers and seeing eye dogs,
Right.
and you ought to
So,
figure out that you're blind.
so Gail, when you think of a tree having that 11 years of partial sight,
Mhm.
do you vision a tree? Can you
Yeah.
vision the color?
Yeah, I put green
Yes?
leaves on it, and I
Yeah.
brown trunk,
Yeah.
and depends on what, if I'm talking about my childhood, then I think of
Uh-huh.
an oak tree that the trunk went up straight, and
Yes.
then it had a big long limb that went to the right. So when I think
Yes.
of that, because I used to climb that, so I think of
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they say Christmas tree, then I go, okay, green, evergreen, whatever those Christmas trees would look like.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, yeah, depending on what, most of the time it's just a trunk and has branches and leaves, and there you
Yeah.
go. I don't
Yeah.
do anything too special to it,
Yeah.
unless somebody shows me. Like, I went to Indiana a few years back, and
Yeah.
a friend of mine showed me a willow tree, and I went, "Oh, how cool is this?" So I played around in the willow things, but I wouldn't have
Yes.
had that in my head because I didn't see that when I was a child.
Yes.
So,
Right.
so whatever I saw is what I envision until somebody shows me something different. And I
Right.
finally figured out one day I was blind by, I took a piece of paper, and it's in my book, and
Uh-huh.
I drew my name, and at the end of Gail, the L, I drew a line down to the bottom of the page. And then I thought, if I could see that, I'll know that's
Uh-huh.
ugly and I'll know I have sight. But if I can't see that, then I know I'm blind. And so I did
Oh.
it, and I drew it down,
Mhm.
and I couldn't see it. Then I went, "Ah, I'm blind. Okay." But then there still was nobody to talk to. And 3 years later, to finish that story, I had one of those teenage blow up kind of things. And you don't even know why I'm blind. And so my parents took me to the eye doctor, and they went, "Well, you have cataracts, and we might have been able to do something 3 years ago, but we can't do anything now because now they embedded
Oh,
themselves
they had
into my
grown so
eyes."
much.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's the way that was.
Yes. Well, I mean, I just can't imagine at 11 how you could uh, get all this straight in your, I mean, there's
Yeah,
just so
yeah.
much fear that have to be around it and just the closing in of your world that how did you get to the part where you became the master of your world, which you
Mm,
certainly are today? in that you've achieved so much, but there had to be a guide, something, since your parents didn't step up maybe as you would have liked.
Right.
But how did you make that big gorge?
Yeah, and it came by little steps and some big ones. My grandma was the first that as a kid who nurtured, guided, and empowered me. She was always there. She gave me a record of Jonathan Livingston Seagull that kept me going, because I just kept thinking there has to be more to life than just grappling on the earth for crumbs. There has to be a way to fly. So that was my inspiration to kind of fly. My voice teacher, when I was studying music as my master's degrees, she saw me as a singer that happened to be blind, not a blind singer. So
Awesome.
yeah, so that kept me going during those years. And then I hit the doctorate studies and the master's in psychology and counseling, and I hit a relationship, which that's where I hit pretty rock bottom, and I was suicidal for several times during a 10-year period. And I was in a wrong relationship, and it was really hard. Oh, and then at the end of that 10-year period, my therapist and healing happened little by little during the therapy. Just getting over, because I had abuse as a child, and plus being blind and the societal discriminations and you name it. I think I did it. And so finally, after talking, and I did Gestalt therapy, so we kicked and screamed and whatever to get it out of my body, all that feelings. And so after doing that for 10 years and healing and healing, a little more, and the relationship finally ended. And it's like, oh, and that was hard, because
that helped.
Oh my gosh. Because in my head, I was married for life, but to the wrong person who kept putting me down, So finally, at the end of that 10-year period, she said, read a book by Lynn Grabhorn called Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting. And I always tell people, you can read two books. You can read mine and hers.
Oh, cool.
All things are possible,
Yes.
But phenomenal book. But in that, she said that what you think, so you create. That what, you have choice in your thoughts, and your thoughts create your destiny. And I went, oh, and my therapist had been saying that, but finally, and not only did I read her book, but she had all kinds of things to do to go from the victim to the creator. And I went, oh, and I started doing them. I started doing affirmations. I started seeing what I believed and believe what I see, and feeling it in my body, not just envisioning it in my head, but just totally believing it from my head to my toes. And then the phenomenal things started happening. Built a habitat house. I became Miss Colorado Senior America. I wrote the book. I went to Australia last year before the pandemic.
To speak.
I know. No, I wanted to speak. I tried. But since then I came back, and I've spoken on at least 2, maybe 3 Australia radio shows.
Podcasts. Good.
So I guess I could say I have spoken in Australia, but it wasn't at the time, which I really wanted to do. But no. Yeah. But I climbed the Cydney Harbor Bridge and went to the opera, so that was cool.
I mean, I'm amazed when I was reading your bio of all the things you have accomplished. And I know in your book, you've even shared more of those things. Why did you choose what you did? Now, I understand the voice, because we're companion spirits there and loving to sing. But you took it a step further, and fear just stopped me from taking it further. Lack of confidence, but you did go further. You studied, you are singing, you are still performing. And so how did you choose to go into therapy, which you have, right?
Yeah.
Not your therapy. I mean, study psychology. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I faced that. Sorry. I
Okay.
said that
That's all right. That's all right. Go into psychology. The singing thing, I love to sing. I love whatever I do, I choose to love it. It's like, if you don't love it, why do it? Um,
I agree.
I know, just saying, why go do something you just hate?
Yeah.
So singing, I wanted to be a concert singer, be on the stage. I just saw myself, and I believed I could do it. I believe I could walk on a piano, and I still think that. I mean, eyes shouldn't prevent you from doing that
Right.
in my head. Now,
Yeah.
out there in the world, there's 90% discrimination of blind people having jobs. And so sighted people don't, they can't envision how we can walk down a flight of stairs, much less sing on the opera stage,
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that at the time, there wasn't an Andre Bocelli to lead my way, but
Mm-hmm.
at the time, it's like, okay, I mean, I did some operas in grad school, and
Mm-hmm.
and that was fabulous, but my teacher
Right.
believed in me. As
Yes.
I think I told you, she saw me as a singer to have me blind, not a blind singer. So, and
Yes.
there's a difference, but other people didn't see me as that. And so I recognized that and said, okay, if they won't let me be an opera singer, I will just hold my hand on the hand of the accompanist, and I'll go out and I'll be a concert singer. Well, they
Mm-hmm.
still discriminated against me. And so it's like, really? Really?
Really? Why would they
Really?
do? Why would
Well,
they do that? I don't
I don't
understand
know,
that.
probably their own insecurity, or maybe they thought, since they didn't make it, how could I? Maybe they
Right.
put that
Yeah.
projection. And then the bad news was, because I believed my parents that I wasn't good enough and that I'd never be anything in some
Right.
ways, I believed them to be true as well. So I
Of
said,
course.
okay, you must be right. I guess I won't be an opera singer. So then I said, well, what am I going to do? I said, well, maybe I'll go and I will teach voice. I'll go to the University of Colorado, and by golly, I can do that. Well, they
Mm-hmm.
discriminated too. And I believed them again. So then by
Yes.
the time I got to my master's in psychology, and I got there because I thought, well, maybe I can help other blind people overcome, and sighted people, their fears and beliefs, and
Right.
get them, assist them in living the life they want to live.
Right.
And little did I know that they too would discriminate against me and say, well, you can't be a psychotherapist, you're blind. And I went, really? Now, I didn't fight the first two because I
Yeah.
didn't have that ability, but by the time the third discrimination came, I had started my own psychotherapy, and I started not
Uh-huh.
only to have my singing voice, but a speaking voice. And
Uh-huh.
then I stood up to him and took him to mediation, and I got my master's in psychology, and I practiced for about 10 years. During that time, I was suicidal. I also practiced psychotherapy. It was like,
Yeah.
woohoo,
So
teach what you
so
need to learn.
so there really was something that said you couldn't be this profession because of your blindness?
Yep. Yeah. People all the way
Really?
through. Yeah. All the way through.
Wow.
Yeah. The singing one. Yeah. All three degrees.
That
People
is
said that.
that is amazing to me. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't if you never walk that path, you just don't know, Gail. You
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
we're like naive, you know.
Well, yeah, of
Um,
course. Yeah.
so and then we're also talking about, you've changed things. That's wonderful.
Well, yeah, I said,
You've
I'm gonna,
changed it for other people.
yeah. It was like, sort of like, sing my own song. I kept performing. I've taught piano for 40 years. And then I went,
You
well, what else?
teach piano
Uh-huh.
too?
I do.
Oh, you don't
I
have
mean,
that on your resume. I'm
oh, sorry.
sorry.
Yeah, I should put that on there. Yeah, got to put everything on there.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I don't have any students at the moment because of the pandemic, and people are still,
Oh, I get
you know,
that. Yeah.
so nobody has come back. But yeah, I've taught piano for 40 years, and I just do what can I do? Well,
Yeah,
I can teach piano.
right.
Well, I have a mouth, I can talk. Okay, great. I have fingers, I can write. So, I do
Yes,
blogs, I've written a
yes.
book, I speak, I do podcasts.
Uh-huh,
So I
uh-huh.
just do what I can do, because I don't want to choose to be the victim. And I
Right,
want to choose to be the creator. And that,
right.
which is the opposite of victim. So I'm just choosing to go that way and just keep doing what I can do.
But don't you find that in your coaching and being exposed and speaking to that no matter if you're sighted or not, we all have the same fears,
Hmm.
doubts,
Hmm.
stoppers. I call them,
Yeah, yeah.
that really say we're not worth it, we're not good enough. And we
Mhm.
get those from
Our parents
our parents.
first of all, woohoo, in society, maybe in teachers after that, but our
Yeah,
parents. Yep,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, and
And
that's why
they
I did the therapy. I did the therapy because I wanted to get rid of all that. I
yes,
wanted to, why was I so depressed? What happened to me? Oh, you've been abused. I mean, there,
yeah,
sexually. Well, that would
yeah,
stop anybody from doing anything, and
right, yeah,
and society discrimination. I wanted to get that out of my body and head, and took 10 years, but I wanted to live a life of greatness. There was
yeah,
always that piece of me that said there has to be something more there, and you have to go towards the hope.
yeah,
And, you know,
yeah.
I mean, there are lots of blind people I know that sit at home, and like you said, other people, but
Hmm.
blind people, and they sit at home and woe is me, and they eat bonbons and they watch TV and they can't do this because they're blind and they're victims, and they don't
Hmm.
go walking and they don't do exercise and they eat crap all day long, and
Hmm.
which gets them more depressed, and they wonder why life isn't working out. It's like
Yeah,
you have choice.
yeah,
You can
yeah.
sit there and choose to do that or not. And even during the pandemic, first 2 months you go, whoa, and then after a while I went, I can still write, I can still talk, I can still make music,
Yeah.
and I'm in my apartment, but I still can do these things.
Yes.
I can still exercise. I can walk up and down the stairs. I can take Zoom exercise classes, even though my building's fitness center is closed.
Yeah.
I choose not to be a victim of my circumstances.
Right. So tell us you sort of opened the door for your book and writing. Now, why did you tell me the reasons you wanted to write that book? Will you share that
Yeah.
with us?
Yeah.
'Cause there's a lot of
Because,
reasons, I
yeah,
think.
yeah, mainly because I wanted to speak my truth. That I realized that my feelings were genuine and my experiences were valid. And
Mhm.
my parents told me otherwise. And I wanted to say, no. I mean, this was when you're a victim, when you're being abused, you don't ever say no, because if you say no, you're going to get hurt
Yes.
more. So
Yes.
you just like, okay, just keep abusing me, keep beating me up, keep sexually penetrating me. It's okay, because you don't have that power to fight.
Yes.
So with the book, I wanted to say, hey, yeah, this is what I experienced. This is what was in my head. This is what's in my
Yes.
body. This is my life. Welcome to
Uh-huh.
it.
Uh-huh.
Some people have said, it's so victim-y. I go, well, yeah, maybe the first 300 pages, but but it improves. The ending is great. Check out the ending. You got to read it to the end. Don't just read the first 5 pages and give up. It has a good ending. It has pictures in the back. Just saying. But I wrote it because I wanted to give people hope. I wanted to let them know they weren't alone. I wanted to let them know that all things are possible. And whatever the it is in your life, you can overcome that it and
Right.
get on the other side. I mean, so
Yeah.
that was part of it too, besides for my own self. And in writing, of course, there was a cathartic part. The
Yeah.
cool thing about being blind is I can type and cry at the same time. It was totally possible. I didn't have to worry about, oh, my eyes are too blurry with tears, I can't see the screen.
Yes, right.
And I
Yes.
just kept typing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
there is something about being able to get that pain out of your body. And
Right.
it's very important to do
Yeah.
because it stays lodged in the most
Oh,
uncomfortable
absolutely.
places.
Absolutely. And it will stay there and cause disease unless you do get it out. So it's
Right,
really important, unless you want disease, because disease will come somewhere if
right.
you don't get it out of your body. Yeah.
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 I'm just kind of throwing this out there for discussion. Do
Mm.
you think that people that go through really, really difficult, what's the difference in that person that sits there and does nothing and that person that finds the inner strength to
Mm.
to say, forget you, I am
Mhm.
doing this? What are we born with it? Do we get to the point we're just fed up? There's something different because I see it in peers that lose their husbands, and it's like their life ends and it just
Mhm.
becomes a, a, a settling problem from there on. they become the babysitters and not the doers. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They take a second seat to their
Right,
life. And
right.
it's like, where does that difference come? Because, I've faced things as well in my life. Not, I think yours are so much greater, but they've been just as painful as
Oh,
yours
sure,
were.
sure.
And and I just I just don't want to do that in my life. Now, what
Mhm.
makes that different? How does it,
Yeah.
do you have an idea? Do you have
Yeah, I'm
a
thinking
thought?
here. Yeah, what comes to me is that we get stuck somewhere in
Mm,
that grieving process. Either some people they deny it. They don't want to face it. So they push it away. I'm
right.
not feeling that. And so some people when they have a little inkling of a feeling, because feelings aren't okay in our society, they
Hmm.
start to get emotional, they start to, you know, feel sad or and then they don't want to do that, so they push that away. Now some people get stuck in that sadness and
Hmm.
it's just stuck, and they don't they and depression is anger turned inward. So they might be angry, but they don't know they're angry. They don't know how to get it out of their body or their head,
Right.
and they keep going around, and they think and they believe that they can't get over it. And maybe I remember when I was depressed, in some ways I liked it. I liked, I mean, in some weird ways, I didn't for a lot of it, but
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
sleeping all day, how fun was
Oh,
that?
yeah.
In a way, because you get to avoid the whole world,
Right.
woo,
Yeah.
and it was kind of nice, but in a way, I was the most miserable, and I was suicidal. So it's
Yeah.
just being stuck somewhere in that process of the grief process of the pain, and they don't want to feel the pain, so now they're depressed, and
Hmm.
they don't know they're depressed, but yet they don't like it, and they don't believe life is good, and it's easier to give up than it
Right.
is to take action. And so
Right.
they just kind of, and they blame everybody else
Hmm.
instead of taking responsibility for yourself. If you're
Right.
not happy, it's your job to say, "Hello, I'm not happy. What's
Yeah.
going on here?" And to figure out what to do about it.
Hmm.
A, go do psychotherapy. Oh, you don't
Yep.
want to do that? I mean, that's a really good way to do it. That's what I did because I wanted to figure it out. But what brings you joy? If it's
Hmm.
walking, go do that. If it's writing, go do that. If it's cooking, go do that, or gardening, or whatever that it is that brings you good joy, keep
Hmm.
doing more of that until
Hmm.
that that overtakes your mind. Take action. I always say you have to have
Yeah.
alignment with God. Be
Yeah.
authentic. Don't be
Hmm.
afraid to be vulnerable. Have a positive attitude. Change that. Every time you think you're thinking negative, go stop. Just stop. Just stop it.
Stop it.
And go, just stop it now. Just go, oh, I can't do that. Well, yes, I can. I just choose not to, or whatever. But saying yes is way better than saying no. And then take action. So the
Hmm.
three A's there. But
Hmm.
you just get stuck somewhere, and the deal is just to get unstuck, to face whatever that is that you don't want to face, be willing to be vulnerable. And it's okay to be vulnerable.
Hmm.
That's the only way to heal ourselves, each other, our relationships, society, is to be
Hmm.
willing to be vulnerable
Yeah.
and then
That's
take
a
action.
Yeah, that's a hard one for so many people to be vulnerable.
Yeah,
Um, it, it is laying yourself wide open for
yeah,
criticism, for
yeah,
pain,
yeah.
but it is a necessary step in connecting with people. Um,
Absolutely. And everybody has something. If you tell your story,
uh,
if I tell my story, if we tell our stories, somebody out there has the same story, and
mhm,
they can go, "Oh, well maybe mine wasn't blindness, but maybe
mhm,
mine was this other thing. Maybe I
right.
had to face whatever that is." And then be
Mhm,
willing to talk about it with somebody. That's where
mhm,
your healing comes in. I mean, that's the way therapy works, is because you're sharing it with
mhm.
somebody.
Yeah.
And they get to empathize with you, and of course they have the tools to help you dig a little bit deeper so you can keep expressing that until it gets out of you. But that's it's all
So if you were soliciting places to speak, would you be more drawn to speak toward those people with I'm going to call them handicaps? Is that should I mean
Sure, you can call it that. I mean, why
is
not? Disabilities, handicaps, whatever.
disabilities, that's
Yeah.
probably another word.
Yeah.
Would you be more inclined, does your heart go more toward those people because we know so many people get stopped with those and use those as excuses? Are you reaching to
Mm,
any and all of us, because any and all of us suffer the same things?
yeah. I think I do both, but I kind of in some ways go to any and all because I think there's more any and all of us. But and yet, with that said, we all have something. So mine's
Really?
just really, out here on the outside, it's blindness, but we all have some kind of disability in a way, eating disorders or alcoholism or whatever it is, amputated foot, whatever that thing is. But it even doesn't have to be physical, it's mental or whatever. And we all have those belief systems and we all have those things that stop us. So
Mhm.
whoever has a stuck place, I'd like to help unstuck you.
Well, I found in my life, and I think I shared this with you when we do a little pre-call. I do a little pre-call with my guests to sort of share and talk about the show. So when we were visiting, I share with you that I had just lost two family members,
No. Oh
my
wow.
ex-husband and my sister,
Oh
about
my.
a month apart.
Mm,
And both were very ill. And it was the first time that I had really, really, really experienced grief.
mhm,
And the grief was interesting. The grief was, you know how we delay our grief
mhm,
sometimes.
mhm,
We don't grieve it when we should be grieving it. We
mhm.
wait. And
Right, right.
then it blows up when
Oh
something
sure.
else happens.
Right.
So I don't think with my ex-husband I had ever really grieved the loss of the dream of marriage, of that partnership
Mhm,
that
mhm,
went awry, actually. It just didn't work.
mhm.
And so I think that was intensive with that. And then my sister had Alzheimer's,
Oh wow.
and she was gone and mentally. And
Mhm,
so, um, but for me, I had seen my mother die,
mhm,
but she was 99. I mean,
mhm,
she had lived the best part of her life. So the only thing I'm trying to share with you is that I've never felt the intensity of
mhm,
grief
mhm,
like this. I
mhm.
mean, and I think it was kind of because of pandemic, because I live alone,
Oh.
so I'd been together alone
Mhm.
for a year.
Right,
I
right,
mean, I wasn't
right,
totally isolated, but
right.
still, I'm in Texas, and we do get out here, wild animals here.
That's funny.
So anyway, but I think it was all of it just came together in this big oh, this is a big thing, and it just
Mhm,
started erupting, and
mhm,
I just had to run away.
mhm.
I got on a plane. I went immediately to see a dear friend in Santa Fe, New Mexico,
Nice.
because she could hear my grief.
Sure, sure.
She would accept me no matter what I looked like, how it came out.
Mhm.
And it was just
Awesome.
the most, and so I've been so intensely interested in grief.
Mm.
And you mentioned grief earlier. And I wondered, how did you um, express your grief? I mean, you had grief over several different areas in your life.
Mhm.
And I've learned you should grieve over the simplest things, like a child going off to college or moving
Mm,
to a new apartment, but when you really when the intensity of the grief climbs, it's
mhm.
really intense.
Right, right.
Then it can all blow up on you if you don't begin
Yeah,
grieving when you need
yeah,
to.
yeah. It's all
So my
consuming.
question to you was, were you I you were so young, so do you remember those really point times of grieving?
I don't remember. Yeah, I remember being, I mean, I don't know if I consciously was depressed as a child, but I was. And I
Mhm.
know even as a teenager, I didn't, well, I have some memories of being abused, but
Yeah.
I don't know, you're so busy growing up. I don't know if I consciously dwelled on that.
Yeah.
It's just things that happened. And later on you reflect and go, wait a minute, this wasn't right. This isn't, this isn't what's supposed to happen to kids. So,
Right.
and my brothers and sister was mainly my brothers were always beating up on me physically. And so as a teenager, I can remember being, and they would beat me up all the time physically. Just like, let's pick on Gail Day, and what can we do
Yeah.
to her?
Right.
And so, and as a blind person, I couldn't run. As
Right.
sighted, you can run away from them, and you probably can see them coming, but no, not me. And
Uh-huh.
so I was so depressed in high school. I can remember one of my teachers, and it's in a book somewhere, that I was so depressed because I used to sing and play guitar, and I was always happy, quote unquote happy, on the outside. But finally it welled up in me and I wasn't singing anymore. And I can remember her dragging my chair across the dining room and saying, "What's going on with you?" And I didn't share because I thought I was going to get in trouble, so I didn't tell
Oh,
her.
yes.
So
Right.
her and her infinite wisdom took me, she told me to wear shorts, and it was like back
Mhm.
then it's like shorts. Oh my God. I mean, I was in a Catholic girls' school and you don't wear shorts, you wear dresses but she told
Yeah.
me to bring shorts the next day and we ran, her and this other student and I ran for 45 minutes on the school grounds and just nothing but
Oh,
running. So because she knew to get it out of my body,
yes.
somehow. So your question was, how did I overcome the depression?
Good
Um,
grief.
and grief. So I didn't know about that. Let's see, probably the first time I really experienced grief, probably, well, my grandfather died, but when I was a kid, but I don't, I was 11, so I mean, I'm sure I was sad, but probably not. But the first time it probably really hit me was when my first CNI dog died, and I probably would
Oh,
have been like
yes.
35 maybe.
Yes.
So, and unlike people that have dogs just as pets, a CNI dog, we're with them 24/7. So one,
Yes.
there's that, but
Right.
two, there's I put my life in her or his paws.
Oh
And
my gosh,
so
yes.
unlike any other person. And so to lose that dog is
Mhm.
totally devastated. And I remember it taking me a year to get over her, my first dog that died. And every single dog after that has been devastatingly hard.
Yes.
Um, you
But
know,
you didn't have a dog for a year?
I actually when my first dog,
Uh-huh.
Gretel, she was 10 and a half and she got hip dysplasia. And so
Oh,
I
yeah.
went back to get dog two, which was
Mhm.
Lorraine, both
Mhm.
shepherds. And
Mhm.
Lorraine and I came home from the CNI the exact same day that my first dog, Gretel, died.
Oh.
Exact same day. She had a tumor
Uh-huh.
on it on all her insides that burst.
Uh-huh.
So I had a dog there. Lorraine, I had 12 and three. She lived to be 12 and three-fourths.
Mhm.
Uh, they just said, "Oh, why don't you retire her?" So I said, "Okay." At 12, she worked, to 12, and
Yeah.
probably they should only work to 10, but I didn't know that, so I worked her to 12. And then they said, "You probably should retire and apply for a new dog." So I did, and so I got my third dog, Camber, and Camber. Um, I came home with him, and I gave Lorraine to another family because I didn't at the time had an apartment and I didn't want two dogs in the same place. So I
Yeah.
gave her to another family to raise. So she died like 9 months later. So there's a little overlap
Mm.
there. But
Mhm.
when Camber retired at 4, but um, I kept him. And
Mhm.
so he lived to be 15 and a half. And so that was a really long relationship there. And when he
Yeah.
died, yeah, I could not. I was totally devastated. It took
I
me a
bet.
year to get another dog.
Mhm.
I was just so, Yeah, it's just so devastated. I can remember just writing. I was writing my book at the time, or editing, I think, and I just took that month editing. I didn't see anybody. I didn't want to see anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I just said, no, I'm going to sit here and edit my book and cry and just, oh, it was so hard to let him go. And
Yeah.
after 15 years, that was just
Yes.
really, really
That's a
hard.
long time.
Yeah, and then one day I went over to a friend's house and she had a seeing-eye dog, and I went, oh. I think I want one of these. So then I got Vinny, my next one, my fourth one, and Vinny, he's still living. He's 10, but he lost his passion at 7. So
Oh.
yeah, he started walking really slow, really slow. My trainer said, "Well, he could be great if you're 80 years old and on a walker." I could walk
Where
faster. I could walk faster with my cane than I could with him.
where do
So
you find how do you get new dogs? Do
I
you
go
go
to
through
yeah,
an
I
agency?
Yeah, I go through the C&I Incorporated in Morristown, New Jersey. They were the
Okay.
first people that ever kind of came up with C&I dogs,
Mm-hmm.
Dorothy Eustace back in 1929. So they've been
Oh
around
my
since
gosh.
then. Yeah, so they almost
Yeah.
have 100 years on them. And so yeah, that's where I go because they were the founders. And I believe if I'm going to
Uh-huh.
put and they're the best school in the country, in my opinion. Sorry, folks.
Yes.
If anybody else has another dog, I'm sorry, but they're one of the top schools, worldwide, and
Uh-huh.
I still think if you're going to put my life in their paws, that I should get the best school. So
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
so I did that, and so yeah, so he's still hanging out, and then Sarge, dog 5. I only had him for 6 months. He was a little golden, and
Okay.
some lady let her dog attack him in the middle of the street, and
Oh,
yeah, and on her and her little Flexa lead. Um, so he's off being a police dog. Talk about devastating. Oh, that was another one. I mean,
yes.
Vinny. I mean, they're all devastating when they go. If it's death or Vinny's still around, but still to let Vinny go to another person. That
Yes.
was hard. He was my Mr. Cuddles, and
Yeah.
he was with me with. He's on the front of the book. He's my
Cute.
Mr. America.
Yeah.
He's awesome, um, but I want another dog. I just went, no. Once I had him after Canberra, I went, I'm
Yes.
going to always have a dog. I love walking
Yes.
with a dog. I like the confidence. I like the freedom. I like the dignity that a dog provides. And I can do it with my cane, but it's more fun not to run into things than to run into things. So,
Uh,
but Sarge, I felt like it was losing a child. Not that I've ever done this, but with SIDS, because I had him for 6 months,
uh-huh.
and then he was ripped away. And he was
Oh.
such a phenomenal dog. I mean, if he would have been a bad dog, you'd go, okay, but he was phenomenal. And then I've waited 2 years, and I got Maggie, my last dog, in
Uh-huh.
March, but I hurt my knee in 5 days into training. And
Oh.
so, and I felt like that was like a little miscarriage. It was like, oh God, and that was hard because I sat there and cried in the office going, this happens to other people. They're really sending me home. Really? No, I'll get better. But it didn't. I had to have 6 weeks of physical therapy and get a cortisone shot and all that stuff. But so that was hard too.
So
So I'm
do
waiting.
you plan to get another
Oh
dog
yeah, I'm waiting for dog 7. I'm hoping.
right now?
Yeah,
I
maybe.
think I have an idea, Gail. I think
Okay.
you need to write a book on your puppies.
I know I want to. I want to take all the stories sort of from that book and the others and put them all together and yeah, write a dog book. Yeah.
I think that
I
would
had
be
it.
a great book.
I do too. Because so many people are dog lovers and just,
Yes.
I mean, my book has the dog stories in it, but I'm sorry, people, you have to go through all that other stuff to get to the dog stories. But, that's just what, but I would like just to take the dog stories, to have the dog be paramount and then kind of have my life be the secondary to the dog part. Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I'll
Yeah.
wait
I'd
for
love to do that.
yeah.
I had a,
Okay.
I had a title. It's something like, oh, I don't know, like the Tales of Gail or something, and then you could have TAILS or you could have the TALES, you could
Yes. All right. Now I'd
six
like,
tails, 24 paws, I don't know.
yes. All right. Now we are approaching the end of our show time, and I am always so sad because I I enjoy the time so much, and it's been delightful today to talk to you.
Yeah,
But
absolutely. You as well.
share
Mwah.
with share with my listeners how they can go to your website. And um, you're on Facebook and
Yep.
Twitter and
I'm
LinkedIn and
Yep, I'm
Instagram.
everywhere. Yeah.
You are. You're even on YouTube.
I am a little bit. Yep. You can
Yeah.
even hear me sing my pageant aria from there. It's on
Ah,
somewhere. If you
yes,
dig deep enough, it's on
it's
there.
there.
It's there somewhere.
So, what is your website?
My website is just like the book title and everything else. If you anything about Gail is Soaring into Greatness, because I believe we all have the ability to soar. To you said at the beginning of the show, to be more than you are. To keep,
Uh-huh.
So I'm all about that. That you can.
Right.
There's more potential in you. So soaringintogreatness.com. I think the Instagram is soaring.into.greatness. I think something like that. I'm
Yes,
not
it
it's a
is.
visual thing, so I don't do that.
Yeah.
But LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, it's all Soaring into Greatness,
Right.
and the book, of course. And the
So,
book is available on Amazon and Audible, but it's also available for blind people through what they call Bard and Bookshare.
oh,
So for
oh,
those people that do that.
cool. So, you have a giveaway on your website, and tell us about that. 20
Right.
ways to
20
soar.
Ways to Soar. Yep, it's a little just a little. I have all kinds of little giveaways, so you ask me, I'll give it to you. 20 ways to soar, 20 ways to climb your mountain, but 20 ways to soar is just sort of 20 little ways that you can overcome whatever the little challenges are. And I kind of equated it all to flying and birds and stuff like
Yeah,
don't be afraid. It's okay to sit on your branch, and it's okay to flap your wings and fly. And we all have to get grounded sometime because we have to go find our food. So it's
right.
okay to nourish ourselves and all that. But
Yeah,
yeah, so 20 ways to soar. I also
yeah.
have 15 do's and don'ts of how to be around a blind person. So if you ask me, I'll say
Oh, that would have been interesting to talk
yeah. So
about.
yeah.
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 I
Sorry
did
about
a couple weeks ago, I did an interview with a lady that had wrote a book on grief.
Oh,
And
cool.
so we discussed in there simple things like how to go see somebody and what
Hmm.
to say, because people feel very uncomfortable in the situations that they're not
Right.
comfortable in.
Right.
So I think you would probably experience this in talking to somebody that had never talked to a blind person before.
Right, because people will say, "Did you see that movie?" Oh, I shouldn't say see. Oh my God, and they get all freaked out. It's like it's not that I woke up today being blind, people. It's I'm used to this thing, and
Yeah,
seeing I just see with my ears and my hands and my inner vision,
right.
and so yes, I did see the movie, or no, I didn't watch that last night. So I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
watched. But
yeah.
so it's okay to say see and watch. Yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
fine. It's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of interesting when we get in these new situations. We all make uh, silly mistakes or
Hmm.
errors that we go, "Oh, I wish I hadn't said that." But
Yeah.
we're just trying, we're just
Yeah.
experiencing it.
Yeah. And
So,
people ask me if they see a blind person on the street, should they
uh-huh.
ask us for help or not? I always say, if it's in your head, ask us. If because I sometimes it might look like I don't need help, but I really do. Because when you have a
Oh,
dog going
yeah.
4 miles an hour, I may be totally lost, but you don't know it. So if I'm standing at the corner of the street and you think, does she need help or not? Just ask me. I'll tell you if I'm good or not. And
Oh,
yeah, if it's in your head, ask. If it's not in your head, it's okay. And it's okay. Here's another one. It's
yes.
okay. I don't have these on my do's and don'ts. I should have some of these weird ones. It's
Oh,
okay.
yes.
It's okay that if a blind person runs into you with their cane, don't go, oh, sorry. Oh, and you get all freaked out. It's like the cane is doing the cane's job. The cane's
Uh-huh.
job is to
Uh-huh.
find the person. You just
Right.
happen to be the object. I'm so sorry, but and I usually just say, "Oh, nice to meet you." You're
Yes.
okay. You are okay. You have nothing to be
Yes.
sorry about. You're just
Uh,
doing your thing, and I'm just doing my thing, and we just happen to collide, it's okay.
Yeah.
Now if you see me coming and you don't move, I'm sorry, that's your fault. But
Well, those are really wonderful. I mean, they give us such freedom when we can hear from you examples of things that we might not ask because we didn't want to offend.
right.
Or
It's
we,
okay.
you
Yeah, we're
just
used
don't
to being
know.
blind. We're used to it. Ask us away. We'll tell you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well,
No,
we
not a
don't
problem.
walk much in Texas.
You
When
don't.
I get to the city, maybe, but I don't go to
Oh.
the city much. Yes, has a downtown area, and we do have a shopping mall,
Oh.
but we're kind of limited. Now, where do you live?
I live in sort of the suburb of Denver. I'm in Inglewood, Colorado.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful there. I
Yeah.
haven't been there in years, but I remember it being beautiful. Colorado's beautiful.
Yeah, I guess so. Oh yeah, it's beautiful out there. Yeah. I think it's hazy today. It's 94 and hazy from
Oh,
fires from the
yes,
west. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But yeah, supposedly it's beautiful. I don't really ski in the mountains and do any of that, but I like feeling the sun on my body and hearing the birds and feeling the breeze and seeing what God's done today out there of nature. So
Oh, and it smells different too,
yeah, absolutely all
particularly
the
when you
time.
get in the woods.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
So
absolutely. And so
different.
quiet. Yeah. You
Yeah,
just go,
yeah,
wow. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Well, Gail, this has been delightful. I've
Absolutely.
loved hearing your story. I've loved sharing your message. It's so powerful. And so anyway, I really appreciate you for being
Oh,
on
me
Second
too, you.
Wind.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
anytime. Yeah. I'd give you a
So
hug
thank
if
you.
if we could reach through the screen.
Indeed, I take it. I need
I,
more hugs.
oh, absolutely. We need 12 a day, they say.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know. I've
So
been
thank
deprived
you.
for what, a year and a half now.
I know, I know. So
And,
thank you
and
very
now
much.
that and now we're out in public and we can get out a little bit, people are like, do I hug? What do I do? It's like they don't
Yes.
know how to hug anymore. It's like,
Yeah.
what you can hug me now. No? Okay, fine.
I know. May have to put that mask back on these days.
I know. Yeah.
But
All
anyway,
good.
thank you very much for
You're
being
welcome
here.
very much. My
So,
pleasure.
yes. So for my listeners out there, I think you have heard a jewel today. You've heard a very strong message that there is no limitation greater than you can achieve and move forward through. So I'd like for you this week, I have an assignment. I'd like for you to think of somebody that needs to know this message, needs to hear this message, blind or not, whatever the disability may be, whatever the transition point that she may be going through, a death, a sadness, whatever it is. Be sure that she gets to listen to Gail and the path that she has gone through to bring her to this message that she shared with us today. Thank you for being here today. It is always my pleasure to be here with you. So have a great week.
Joyce Buford returns next week at the same time for another edition of Second Wind. Through the Joyce Buford Empowerment System, women are receiving the support they need through their transitions and are able to reclaim their true purpose with confidence. They receive the tools they need to map out new lives. You can find out more about her coaching services at joycebufordempowers.com.